Hi, y'all. I'm going to continue reading from my book, The 1900s. Confronting the Elements. The Galveston Hurricane of 1900. Stephen Fox. One of America's deadly disasters took place in the Barrier Island city of Galveston, Texas in 1900 when a hurricane struck. According to historian and biographer Stephen Fox, Galveston's geography and location helped make it vulnerable to disaster. Fox recounts the horrific experiences during and after the storm with several Galveston families, all of whom suffered major losses. When the storm subsided, writes Fox, about one-third of the city was gone, torn, and naked bodies were everywhere, and everyone and everything seemed to be in a state of chaos. Fox believes the storm should serve as a reminder to people not to underestimate the power of nature. Yeah, no, duh. That is still true to this day, not just in the 1900s, but also in 2026. Never, ever underestimate the power of nature. Remember that, folks. The dedicated weatherman and the terrible storm collided during the first week of September 1900. Isaac Klein, head of the U.S. Weather Bureau station in Galveston, Texas, was tracking a hurricane headed northwest through the Caribbean. Klein was fascinated by the young science of meteorology. After 18 years in the Weather Bureau, the last 11 in Galveston, he knew his field well. He expected this particular tropical cyclone, once it passed across Cuba, to run up the eastern seaboard of the United States, but it hit a stubborn high-pressure block over Florida and veered west. The last information Klein received placed the storm south of Louisiana as it screamed across the Gulf of Mexico toward Galveston. In the roll call of America's deadliest disasters, the body count becomes a grim Richter scale. Think of the 250 people killed in the Chicago fire of 1871 and the 1,182 in the forest fire at Peshtigo, Wisconsin that same year, the 503 in the San Francisco earthquake of 1906, and then even worse, the 1,836 lost in the Florida hurricane of 1928 and the 2,209 in the Jonestown flood of 1889. Yet the total deaths from these 5 catastrophes, taken together, amount to thousands fewer than the toll inflicted by the Galveston hurricane. Galveston, a place apart. It seemed obvious afterward that Galveston was vulnerable to calamity. The city, perched on the eastern end of a barrier island, an exaggerated sandbar, a few miles off the Texas coast. Its main street, Broadway, bisected the city along the island's spine from northeast to southwest. At only 8.7 feet above sea level, Broadway offered the highest line in Galveston. Facing the Gulf, a wide level beach ran the length of the island. 27 miles of glistening white sand. To improve beach access, protective sand dunes up to 15 feet high have been removed along the city's edge. A traveler approaching Galveston from the Gulf first glimpsed its buildings seemingly floating in water, mirage-like with no land in sight. Geography had made the place both attractive and dangerous. Constant sea breezes kept its summer weather more temperate than on the neighboring Texas mainland, drawing thousands of visitors. On the north side of town, on Galveston Bay, a new deepwater harbor promised a prosperous future. The federal government had recently spent $7 million on dredging and building jetties to deepen the channel from the Gulf into the bay. The harbor's cotton and grain exports had made Galveston links by railroad bridges to the mainland and the major banking and financial center between New Orleans and San Francisco. Impressive Victorian mansions were spreading along Broadway, and new residential areas were spreading to the south and west toward the unsheltered beach. As resort port and mercantile center, Galveston radiated a cosmopolitan ease. It included many citizens of German, French, Jewish, and Italian ancestry. The first synagogue in Texas and the seat of the state's oldest Roman Catholic diocese. The three leading Galveston merchant families were Protestant, and Jewish. About 22% of the population was black. With power so diffused, nobody really dominated. The Artillery Club, formal and exclusive, lay adjacent to the fanciest whorehouse in town. That's what it says here. I'm not kidding. People came to Galveston to enjoy themselves amid the oleanders and public gardens. Young swells took to oyster roasts, boat sales, and fishing parties. For other tastes, there were a dozen public gambling houses and many unregulated saloons that never closed. Bathhouses and refreshment stands lined the beach. Nude bathing, popular with both men and women, was restricted by city ordinance to late at night. It was a place apart. Insularity bred both pride and complacency. At regular intervals, and particularly in 1875 and 1886, high water had swept over Galveston. These overflows were accepted as part of the island's uniqueness. With no great damage done, residents mopped up cracked jokes and went on as before. Sensible proposals to build a protective dike around the city had gone nowhere. The famous beach sloughed off to deep water so gradually that it was understood destructive waves from the Gulf would surely break and be spent before reaching shore. Please rate, comment, and subscribe down below. And if you're on TikTok, please follow and watch my videos, okay? I need more views and followers than I do with likes. And I'm selling stuff on Mercari and eBay, so look me up, okay? And buy something, please. I need the money. Okay? Bye.